of rapport with the Men's Council, and it's certainly a privilege and an honor to be here once again. We certainly do not take these opportunities for granted. I am Dwight Berridge. I'm the treasurer of the Men's Council, and tonight I have with me Melvin Agard, a member of the council, and we want to explore tonight the question of the young people's behavior, the matter of young people, the values, their behavior, and the prospects of or for the future. The behavior of young people is shaped by significant physical, emotional, and cognitive changes leading to common behaviors like seeking independence, spending more time with peers, and experimenting with identity. These typical behaviors include emotional ups and downs, boundary testing, and increased risk taking, which are all part of the developmental process of moving forward, moving toward adulthood. While some behaviors like impulsivity and emotional intensity are normal, other concerning behaviors such as substance abuse or severe aggression may signal underlying problems and require attention. Typical behaviors of the young people is seek independence and is seeking identity. Young people often focus on forming their own identity and asserting their independence, which can lead to less time with family and the desire for more privacy. Then we have the peer influence, spending more time with friends and being heavily influenced by peers. This is common. It leads to a focus on social relationships and shared experiences. Then there is the emotional and mood swings. We can talk about the risk taking and the exploration. We can focus on some of them focus on the appearance and the relationships. Many young people become more concerned with their personal style, their body language, and how they are perceived by others. They may also become intensely focused on friendships and romantic interests. Behavior of the young people. Behaviors that are, could be cause for concern, Melvin Agard. Substance abuse and extreme aggression and so on. What is your take on when we look around, particularly in St. Kitts, when we look at the behavior of young people, what is shaping their behavior, and how can we as men address what we're seeing and provide some solutions to the situation?
Yeah, well, greetings all. Agard here, as was introduced a little bit by Dwight Berridge. Yeah, and a member of the Men Council. Right. So we actually have a situation that seemingly is global in some sense, but at the same time, the Caribbean have its unique set of issues regarding the youths and what's not, which seem to stem from the idea of colonization. And we have a system that produces such adults who run for office into politics and become prime ministers and ministers of governments who are a product of that system. So we don't have any leaders who seem to want to at least get out of that colonial type of thinking. And one of the things that we're looking at is that the youths who we are seeing coming up as a product of not only that system, but parents who were and are a product of that system, giving birth, and maybe somehow it's now becoming kind of genetic. And then we have the you could say the social media aspect of it now that merges itself with that type of youths that we have today, where we have that boom, you could call that explosion of social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name them, and therefore now you have the wall open up, the windows are open up, and everybody interact. So, and then you have some people coming from a different place. So, you know, you have the Chinese, the Caucasian, the Indians, the Caribbean people, the Africans, and so on, who, you know, are coming from some other place. You know, when you trace it back, maybe everybody come from the same place. But so we have some similarities because of that window, these windows that are open to these social media apps and what's not. And therefore you find that some of the youths are mimicking other youths that they see. Sometimes also when you take to the movies, you see children mimicking.
Is that a bad thing?
It all depends on the thing itself. Because if the thing itself express, you know, bring harm, you know, in any way, or bring, you know, bring some negatives that don't seem to promote the type of growth that we are looking for in our youths, then of course it's negative. I don't know if we are actually searching for the true betterment of our youths based on the system of education that in itself need to be decolonized in order to produce those type of maybe critical thinkers and so on, so that we could actually grow as a society with the youths and them taking maybe a different step in a different direction, and we more than likely would have a more promising future. But for now, we are seeing the lingering of the colonial ideas and ideologies around us through the decisions of our leaders. I'm not just saying it's Nevis, but apparently throughout, you know, most of the Caribbean. And
so you're saying that the colonial history, so to speak, the past, what the colonizers and so on brought here, and that continues to affect and shape the behavior of the young people?
let's put it to the test. Now, back a few years ago, we had this program they call the YES program, which today now is called the STEP program, once also called the PEP program, and so on. It was started out where it was targeting the youths, right? And I had some sessions going up in this program. I teach a little computer class here and there. But the main thrust of that program was interested more in hospitality. What is hospitality? Hospitality is a way of promoting the concept of slavery still, where you bring hotels here and you have a whole lot of people here to serve, to wash clothes, wash dishes, clean yard, hang up curtain and different things and stuff like that. There was no main focus on the computer training. There was no main focus on the mechanics. There was no main focus on plumbing and these things, but there was big focus on hospitality. Why do you think also year after year and election after election, you find our leaders seem to want to focus on bringing foreigners here to do business, open hotels? You know, recently we've been with this lot of talk about this SSDZ story, which, you know, I read a little bit of it, and, you know, instead of focusing on the issues that we have on hand, which we have a lot of youths coming up who need to be infused in our communities, and we lack in expertise in a lot of areas. We don't have much specialized doctors. I don't even know if we have much specialized lawyers and so on. We don't have a lot of engineers. And instead of trying to promote that, you know, and maybe make it more attractive so that we could send people out to get the degrees and come back and do work in the country, we out there focusing on other things. So it shows you clearly that the whole colonial mindset is still here. It's here very, very deep. It's deeper than you're thinking.
Well, it's not. You said it's the hospitality industry, tourism, and all that. Isn't that an opportunity to provide employment for the young people?
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea about dancing for master have been around for a while, and we still just love to promote that as much as we possibly can. As a matter of fact, coming this month, we're gonna see us practicing to do that again. You know, you go down on the pier, the colonizers, I must say offspring, visit, and you entertain them, and you just continually entertain them. And in the whole idea that you're getting some jobs, you get to carry them off to Brimstone Hill around the island and what's not. And hey, maybe that's good for economics in some sense, but it's a very fragile industry, very fragile. Something as as simple as a phone call could disrupt that whole industry, just making a threat.
What about the matter of the young people, seeking their independence and identity? Young people often focus on forming their own identity, asserting their independence.
Well, we have a lot
You
of
know,
strong young minds around still. We're supposed to help to help them as much as they can. I've heard some youngsters kind of doing some maybe mock parliament type of stuff, and it sound really good. Those are the young people that we need to probably pay attention to.
That's on the positive side, right?
Right. So we do have some of those, but that's like that's the
Minimum.
little. That's the just like what the thing you call in the school there when they have like speech day. You have a speech there, and who do you parade? You parade the few students who did well.
Mm.
You don't parade the majority, because the majority obviously didn't do well. So you have such a school system that is year after year promoting failure, and still in that same system you want to use them to do good, when you yourself as the teachers and so on promoting the actual failure. Because if you're saying, well, 10% of those who are leaving school did well, what happened to the 90% that did not do well? Why weren't we parading 90% that did well,
Right,
and
right.
the 10% that left back we walk on those?
Seriously. But in matter of the peer influence, some young people, they spend more time with their friends, they be heavily influenced by their peers, and that is common. It is leading to a focus on social relationships,
Yeah.
shared experiences and so on. These are the good thing, peer influence.
It all depends on the influence itself, because I mean, if you're getting information to help you to grow, sometimes you have to understand what that growth is about, because are you growing into a better part of yourself? Are you growing to be a servant? Are you to somebody else? Are you going into somebody else's idea?
They're around other
Right.
people, young people who.
So are you truly becoming you? Are you becoming someone that somebody want them to become?
Right.
Now, in the sense of maybe some businesses, those large businesses who have children, and they want their son or daughter to continue with the business, that is quite understandable. But then when you have like children who don't have that to look forward to, then I think that the country itself now, with the politicians and so on, who are supposed to be the leaders, supposed to at least look around to see, okay, what it is that we need in this country. We need some specialized doctors. We need some eye surgeons. We need some engineers. And you try to make that happen by sending them off to study these things. In the meantime, while these youths are probably out there studying, you contract a few people to be here to start it so long, so that when they return, they have a space to fill. But we're not doing that.
Excellent ideas
We
coming
just
forward. Yeah.
we just concentrating on how much safety subjects somebody pass,
Right.
and then
Right.
we clap our hands, and that's it. Put them in the office to work. Maybe if they go off to college to continue the trend where you have the education system and the banking system forging this relationship that is kind of causing our people, our youths, to become batteries to a system that is not really designed for them to truly foster, the true identity that you mentioned earlier, and so on.
Well, what about the emotional and mood swings? We know that young people, the hormones fluctuate, the brain development. This can result in intense emotions, moodiness, sometimes very erratic behavior. That helps. That is influencing. That is shaping the behavior of some of them. So, do you think that the brain development? Do you think that something needs to be done in to help them to overcome these fluctuating hormones and mood swings, and so? Or you just leave it alone as it is? It's a process of growth.
That's interesting you say that, because just yesterday, I think I was looking at some news, and they are now declaring that the youths, maybe globally, I don't know if it was globally, American youths have started to decline in the whole social media trend that was booming just for a little bit there. They're suggesting that they have seen a decline in that. So I don't know where that is going. I don't know if that is accurate or anything, but the whole idea is that you have all what you just say happening, maybe based on even some of that, because what they're showing you is that when that social media explosion happened, the youths changed. You know, you definitely saw a change in them. Now, but let me just dial back a little bit before that social media explosion. When cable TV came to St. Kitts, there was a major change in our social attitudes, especially the female, when the soap opera started coming on the TVs. Before we had that cable TV and those soap operas, the conversations were different, the behavior were different, the attitudes were different. So you could definitely see the evolution from the 80s, the 70s.
When we had, I remember when we had before we got the cable, we had Channel 5, ZIZ.
Right, we were fighting towards the channel.
We had to turn the antenna to catch other stations. But interestingly, ZIZ used to bring on, when the soaps came out, and so they used to bring on 102. Remember, Another Life, a Christian soap opera.
Okay. Right.
And what do you call the thing there? Then afterwards you found things like The Bold and the Beautiful, The Young and the Restless, and so on. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
But you as an educator know that repetition is one of the tools used to make sure that you get the information going into the heads of the youths. And not just youths though, but we're talking about even adults who sit down behind the TV for hours and basically train themselves to think in a particular way. Look at what's happening today, for instance. I don't know when last you go to a primary school, you know, you're in the education system still, but listen to the youths today. A lot of the youths now are speaking like the TV, speaking like the internet. They speak like the cartoon, and they're not mimicking their parents. They're mimicking what they see on the tablets, on the phone, on the TV. They're not mimicking the parents, which means the parents are no longer the main influencers in their life.
That is true.
You know, so now the TV is taking over, and this will have nothing to do with TikTok them yet, but they're gonna grow up into that.
Yep.
You know, so we could see.
Concern.
There's a lot of things cause for concern a long time, but we do nothing about these things. We just talk about them.
Seriously.
And, you know, that's why we need like leaders who are really ready to make a change, and that change have to start with the decolonization of the education system. Remember, the education system that we've inherited was from the colonial mindset, was from the churches who offer school, who offer education. We took that, we didn't shape it in the best interest of our community or society and what's not. And then we model everything from that. So we have not gone back to just, you know, let's just look at this thing to see, is it really good for us? You know, because we have this curriculum-based system, which as it is now, is not really in the best interest of our development. And the fact that, again, like I said earlier, hospitality being the main focus when you're training a lot of young people who probably don't have work, and the whole idea that you keep hinting at us that you want hotels to come here and so on, so that we could find work. But what about the other work? What about, for instance, agriculture that basically have almost everything you could get inside the whole industry, everything. And we're not interested in that, because I mean,
a lot of young people don't want to get their hands dirty.
No, but they can't want to if it's not taught. It's not taught to them.
Oh, right.
Back then, I mean, before all of the cable TV and the internet and all that, there were people who were very happy to, you know, partake into their agricultural duties and what's not. Go to the mountain, check out for the goats and the cows, you know, weeding up the crops and different things. People had joy doing that.
The substance abuse, member Agard, frequent or aggressive use of alcohol or drugs can be a sign of a deeper issue.
Well, before we go to the substance abuse, I would like to touch a little bit on food abuse, because you find we have a lot of, I think St. Kitts must be ranked 5th or 3rd somewhere there in the Caribbean in terms of obesity. You could always look that up and probably give the accurate information, but obesity is a big thing here. And if you look around, whether it is the police force, the it's basically all over. The teachers, obesity is a big thing here. The youths, and we happy to have KFC and Burger King, to feed our children, and
Right.
not take this
Yeah,
stand and make sure you feed the youths a good diet. Now we're gonna go right back to where you were talking about moods and attitudes and different things. Some of this is based on what they eat. Some of this is based on what they eat. So if you're not feeding them healthy, you're not keeping them healthy,
Mm.
then it's gonna mess with them in other ways, which
Brain development.
right, which take a longer discussion. I'm not a doctor,
Mhm.
in these areas, but
Mhm.
you could see clearly what's up.
Mhm.
And
So,
yeah, but you asked about the substance abuse.
mhm.
So substance abuse is something that I often hear people talk about, and the main thing that they go to is, I mean, I'm surprised I hear say alcohol, but the main thing that people go to is like the
I said,
marijuana.
well, yeah, I said excessive use of
Yeah,
alcohol
you're right, right.
or drugs. I didn't say
Right.
marijuana.
No,
Well,
but I'm
drug.
telling you what normally be on the street, most people conversation, they
Mhm.
talk about marijuana and how the youths
Mhm.
and them abusing it, and
Ah,
it just crazy talk, because for a non-user to talk about abuse, it would raise some questions for me, because if you have not studied the things, you have not studied the subject of concerning that substance, then why would you say that anybody is abusing it? I mean, can it be okay? Clearly, you could see if a man is drunk.
Mhm.
Clearly, you could see a man drunk. But when it comes to behavior in certain other areas, is a combination of things. It's genetics, surroundings, diet, influence. So it's a combination of things. The religious impact, and then we just narrow it down to say that because they're smoking weed.
Mhm. Blame it on the weed.
Wait, because the weed. So you have nothing to do with the genes. You have
Seriously.
nothing to do with
Blame it
society.
on the
You
weed.
have nothing to do with social
Blame it on
media.
the
Let's just blame the weed.
Right, I tell you what.
You know,
It's a serious state of affairs.
and that's when you don't have critical thinkers, because
Mm,
they just follow a certain trend that was given to them, and they just go against it.
mm. Extreme aggression, violent outbursts, extreme aggression, being violent towards others, you know, severe mood changes, eating disorders, withdrawal and isolation.
But you don't even have to cover all of that, because that's a lot too.
It's a lot, yeah, I'm saying. But with it's clear. Remember, Agar, based on what you're telling me, you're saying that um, there are many factors that influence or shape
Definitely.
the behavior of the young people.
Mhm.
And well, you stress heavily on social media and digital and the colonial
Right. Right.
history and all of that. But what are the prospects for the future? Does the prospect look good for the future? When you look at the behavior of the young people and the factors you outlined and so on, looking ahead, is there hope?
Well, I guess maybe if the scientists, would be honest with us and look at that you just mentioned, would realize that we basically on a collision course to be extinct, because we have every day you hear of wars, rumors of wars, you hear of diseases killing people. Don't mind that we have a population increase where we're up to like 8 billion people. That could just cut in half in overnight. In a few minutes, that could just cut.
Wow.
By any amount that because mankind is happy to make nuclear weapons and all these different things. And this is kind of weird. It might sound a little racist, but while the black people in the African regions and maybe in the South American regions history have showed you that they are more interested in making tools for agriculture and what's not, then the Caucasian come around and got busy with making guns and gunpowder and nuclear weapons. So we could see a clear distinction right there about the priorities of the different races. And the priorities about the Caucasian seem to be to destroy and kill, whereas the priorities of maybe the blacks is to let's feed ourselves. But then when the priority get mixed up with slavery, And then the same Caucasian now gonna control that people who are more interested into the agriculture. Now you're getting them to be on your side, to be interested in the things that you're interested in. We're now dressing like them, we're trying to talk like them, behave like them, and so on. So even some of those things that you mentioned there about their boss and aggression and what's not, who have been more aggressive than the Caucasian people throughout history. Caucasian people cannot live in peace with any other race on the earth, on the planet. They have made basically wage war with every single other race.
Are you serious with that statement, member Egan?
You could Google it. you could you could Google it. You could go doc to it. Whatever area history book. They actually have a history book. I forget its name, but it have actually, it tells you about the evolution of the world, basically all the stuff that happened, all the wars and what's not and what's not. And when you trace it right back, the Caucasian have been the most aggressive person on the planet, and still today is.
We're told that challenging behaviors can sometimes be linked to under-addressed needs, such as learning disabilities and neurodevelopmental conditions like ADHD or autism and so on. But the thing in all of this is that support is critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Support is critical.
Support structure.
And we're not paying attention to these things. As a matter of fact, quite a few persons here would have children that have some of these issues that you just mentioned. But yet we don't have, like in the schools, who would accept maybe some of these children to at least mingle with what we dub normal. It's as if the teachers and them might not be so much into that. Like I don't know, maybe they may not have the training and what's not to go along with that. So I think that again, remember, with
special needs,
we need to fix the education system to at least help in these situations, because some of these situations are not what we think they are. But coming from a background where we laugh and scoff at things because we don't understand it, through our ignorance, we laugh at things.
Seriously.
A man out there might be an alcoholic, we laugh. Somebody might be addicted to crack cocaine. You laugh and we do a lot of stuff.
Okay, when you talk about young people, behavior of the young people, right?
Yeah.
You can put different brackets, can't you? Because you look at those in school, the teenagers, those who you just mentioned, those who left school, the drinking and whatever, their lifestyle, and those in our late or what, in their 20s, 30s, so you can categorize it. But the interesting thing is, what about the values and so, because the behavior won't be behavior linked to what kind of values and training, morals and so on they have from the parents.
Yeah, but this moral concept is based on a religious concept, and if the religious concept guides our moral concept, it still comes down now to what type of religion we're talking about, because we have
the values.
Yeah, but all it linked together, because it's like values are dependent on morals. Morals are dependent on religion. Religion is dependent on what?
You can't be a moral person without being religious, without religion.
I think you can, but could you tell me how though?
No, I mean, if you have you have a child and your child has never been exposed to any sort of religious training or teaching or anything like that, and your mind doesn't say to, okay, child, look, when you go there and you hear others swearing or thinking, don't do that. You have somebody else to tell the child about certain things in life.
Well, I guess maybe talking about intelligence and morality, it would be two different conversations. I think it would be intelligent to tell somebody, what you're saying there is wrong. I don't think it's moral. I think it's intelligence. Okay. And I think that we are endowed with that. As a matter of fact, this is probably what separates us from the animals and the birds and what's not. The level of intelligence, that we evolve based on intelligence, but all the other creatures do not evolve based on intelligence. They survive based on their instincts, and their instincts are not learned. It's ingrained in them. It's an innate feature that they have.
Yeah.
So you find intelligence on the other hand takes time. You have to learn how to do certain things,
Yeah.
you know, and with the instinct you come with it full.
Mm.
You take a dog that have never seen the seawater, for instance, and you just carry him, whichever, you know, the male or female, and you carry them to the sea and you throw them in the seawater, they swim like they were swimming all these years. Because that is in them as an instinct. And instinct also covers survival. So
Well, you know, we there's this topic is very is deep, it's profound,
yeah,
and it has a lot of angles and different
it's not really
aspects.
it's not really deep,
Deep,
you know, it's just that something would seem deep when there is no interest.
yeah,
You know, and one, there's no interest, there's no study, there's nothing done to deal with
yeah.
the topic. So when the topic comes up and maybe some words start throwing around and the words sound a little bit, yo, you know, that sound right, that sound whatever, and then you would say, well, that's deep.
Yeah.
It's not really deep.
Okay.
It's just that you were never interested in it. You never you approached it. So it seemed deep.
When we look at with statistics, you know, when you look at the trends of behavior of the young people in St. Kitts and Nevis, and you make a comparative analysis over the years, we've seen this or that. In the 70s, the young people was this, and now we see a decline in this or whatever. Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned. You said there's no. You mentioned trends and study and all of that. That is important. So that would be interesting to know if the Ministry of what's it called, gender affairs, or what the one that deals with young people and so on, would do a study, look into this thing and examine what is happening and making adjustments, so you know, accordingly based on what the trends are. That's significant. That's important to me.
Yeah, but well, that might be good and all. You have to understand that all this must come from above them. So you find if you don't have ministers and leaders above into the positions to say, well, it's going to trickle down that we're going to go ahead and make some investigations into what's happening with our youths. We're going to go ahead and start investing in our youths, you know, train them so that they could be the better future engineers and specialists that we so well need. Then you find that the current system that is in place do not have that interest. So we could say all this and say that these are the things that they can do, but it's like there is no interest to do that because they're not getting that from above. So
Sure.
for them to go and do work that was not told to them that they should do, they would basically be on their own doing that, and that might not go along with the political goals either.
Oh.
Because remember, the political goals is to basically promote obedient people to a system that is not even good for them, and not produce critical thinkers that's going to hold them accountable and responsible for the things them that they are doing. Politicians are not interested in that outcome.
Oh.
So until we get a good political change where you have leaders with that type of critical thinking that they really want to make that change, the first step that they'll do is make sure to decolonize the school system. And in decolonizing the school system and come up with a framework education system that would foster critical thinkers and not just compliant and obedient people, then we're talking about a better future for us. But for now, that is not the case.
Well, and during this transitional period, what can be done? We can, you know, we need to. Don't you think the parents need to give more support?
No, well, what we need
other
to
caregivers, other.
what we need to do is have these conversations in a wider audience, number one, and to be very bold with it. And then, of course, you're gonna get some backlash. Where, you know, some people gonna criticize you and so on. But you just have to keep it going because at the end of it, you know, there's always. I mean, you as a Christian man, you understand that the virtues, the fruits of the spirit would deal with things like patience and humility and all these different things. So
Yeah.
you know, all these are requirements in order for your own person when it comes to moving towards these type of change, because these type of change don't just come with no resistance. I mean, when a slave don't understand they're in slavery, then how do you free them? You know, and that's basically some of what we go through. I mean, look at it. Hotels, we our leaders is like you would even hear people calling on the radio, criticizing governments. Oh, you're not even bringing a hotel because they are a product of that type of mindset that think that they're supposed to be slaves. They're supposed to be maids and servants to another race. They're not holding the government ministers accountable and responsible to make sure that the youths then become uh, engineers and specialists and so on, to make sure that the country's goals, if they do have these goals at all, the country's goals are met. And if they don't have them, they need to set some, because we have a nursing university right here in St. Kitts. I don't know how many of our locals have been to that university to become, whatever high level grade nurse that they need to be. We have a veterinary school. I don't know how many locals go to that school. So, and these are universities. So foreigners are coming here, taking advantage of the situation, I guess, as they can. I don't know what kind of deals we cut with these organizations, these schools, in order to see how can our locals also benefit from these schools. And, we have our CFBC there. We need to upgrade that to a university as well, and make sure that our education system get what it needs, the necessary tools and what's not, and we start from there. I mean, but as I said, we need to be bold in more public space. Maybe go on all the radio stations, get all the backlash and all the feedback, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk about this to the ends of the earth. It's just that you need support too. I'm not just by myself. I mean, I would if I have to, but the men's council is here, and I think that's something that we should push as men, because we're the ones who just start these fires sometime, and we don't take care to make sure you're going in the right direction.
But but when I look, well, when I look at what's in our country, remember AGAD, I could recall there was a time when there was a lot of gang violence and criminal activity and so on. Seems that things have calmed down, and I see an improvement in that area. You laugh, but you're laughing a basic fact.
Well, the thing is, it's like, remember, saying it's a small country. The population is very small. I mean, even if the killing continues, it's like there will be nobody left to kill. So it pretty much have to stop somewhere at some time, and then maybe it might start back again, and so on. So I don't know if there's any one thing that contributed to that, in a sense, and I hope it stayed this way, because the loss of life is never a good thing.
Yeah, families are affected.
Exactly.
We're all connected.
Right, and so we had that time. It's kind of weird how our society responded to that, though, in that for some reason, some years after it got out of control, while families were being put through all sorts of pain and turmoil and what's not, somehow people seem to love the idea that people were dying. I mean, to the point where you would hear people saying the place, like there's nothing happening, or the place seems so boring now, like nothing happening, like it's as if people love blood, they love death. I remember as a small boy, I lived across the road there, and ever so often you would hear a vehicle, get out of control over the day, and then sometimes somebody may die, sometimes they survive. But what struck me was that one day there was an accident, and people were running across to see what was happening. And the one question that they keep asking is, anybody dead? Anybody dead? And the moment you say no, it's as if they got disappointed.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange. I don't know what causes that. I mean, maybe that needs more study than anything.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But sometimes we seem to love the idea of people dying, losing their life, and so on. And who knows? That might just be part of the whole idea of colonization and all these different things that was done to us.
Well, remember, you got to think that we have said a lot. I know this topic can go on, and we can talk from now until the cows come home. But
So then let's talk. We got
no,
15
no, no,
minutes.
no. But I think that we can probably have a part two or another session. So, time is gone, and I don't know if it's anything else you would like to mention. We recognize that the values or the behavior of young people globally, and more specifically in this country, the trend is not. It's not the outlook is not too positive based on what you're saying. But then um, during this transitional period to get things back on track, we support is crucial, and support from the parents, support from the religious leaders, political leaders, teachers, whatever. Um, People, we need to work together to see how we can get back uh, to a level of, I don't think we can turn back the hands of time, but to be able to say, well, we see a positive outlook for a good prospect for the young people, the positive outlook to see that the prospects for the future will be brighter.
Yeah, but before the young people could be that which you just mentioned, those who are the adults need to set the example.
Oh, okay,
You know?
there you go.
Because the young people look at the adults
Yeah.
and behavior sometimes is learned behavior. It's things that you see, and that's why I told you earlier that you have a lot of children now speaking like the cartoons.
Yes, I know. I heard it. I've heard it.
Right. So and then you have a lot of people who
I've heard them.
I've heard Kitishans trying to speak like Jamaicans. I've heard Kitishans trying to speak like Trinidadians. Like we want to pattern everything. Now
It's crazy.
now maybe it's not crazy. I mean, it should that we have some skills.
Okay.
It should that we have some skills. So if we have this skill to mimic others,
Yeah.
then let's mimic the good things.
Okay.
If they are good things to mimic, let's mimic the good things. But we the adults force have to. The adults are the ones who come on radio, who go on TV, who stand up in the public space and talk about the youths, but they themselves are not making the change. Now, if you don't make the change, then how the youths gonna make any change? Because you're the first area. You're supposed to be the first role models, the parents.
Yes.
The parents, the teachers, community leaders, supposed to be the role model for these children. However, instead of that, the children are given phones and tablets and internet access to do as they wish. And then we have a school system where the teachers are not computer literate. And then you're going to give the children computers to work on. Give them. So basically, a lot of things we're doing don't make sense.
It's true.
Don't make sense. And we just continue to do it year after year and expecting like things to just change for the better.
Expect fantastic results.
We have seen, I mean, the politics, even the people are so sensitive to politics and religion. We have seen that the politics over the past 50 years at least, well, maybe 30 years at least, have been kind of strange. You really got to wonder what is it that our politicians sometimes really, really gone in there to do for us. Because obviously we could see that one thing they have in common is that their behavior is the same. So and they were youths. So if they were youths, we here talking about youths, they were youths, right? They see certain behaviors, the pattern, they took notes of these things, and they themselves not only behave the same way, but have taken some of the behavior to a whole new level. And so if we're gonna talk about the youths now, then the change must come with the adults who are standing right now and can have that impact and actually make sure the youths them go through that change, give them something to look for. Right. But we start with us.
Start with us.
Start with us, and
well,
right now we're just talking. I mean, we talk some more, and see if we could get it. Because remember, again, as an educator, repetition. So this conversation shouldn't just stay here. You know, we need to repeat this a few more times. The people get fed up of hearing it now.
No, it's being disseminated. It's going, it's global. It's, you know, it's gone viral, and people all over the world are listening and viewing. So we are making an appeal, a challenge to you. Be a good influencer, good role model, you know, for the young people. We are seeing a trend that we don't really like. So what we want to do, we come here with a positive outlook, and we want you to recognize that the future can be bright, but you have the choice. You can make the difference. Remember, Agard, I will give you your parting words, and then we will wrap up this program.
Well, my parting words would be to encourage all men who are looking at this little program here to, you know, join us as the St. Kitts National Men's Council, and you know, let us put that foot forward to start making this change, because it's not only necessary, but you know, it is critical.
Critical. And
that's it for me.
And don't blame it on the weed. But all right, thank you very much for
blessed greetings all.
Thanks for viewing, and have yourself a blessed one.